am a Pete Primeau fan.
Thank you for having me.
Your fans are like...
What an honor to be here, Pete. You're a legend. You're a rock star.
I'm a legend in my own mind, said my wife.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
I'm Mr. Selling from the Heart. What's this guy, Larry Levine, going to teach me about selling from the heart?
You are one of the most generous and authentic people around. And I think that's why you and your show are so attractive to people.
Welcome to the Pete Primeau Show. It is episode 239, and we are going to talk about a grand bedding story. But first, we're going to pay the bills. If you haven't already bought my book, Sell a Million, what are you waiting for? Now is the time to get more traffic, and this is a book about getting more traffic and making more money. It's a business book. And if you want a sales book, I've got one for you. Miles and Miles of Retail Selling Greatness. It's not just me, guys and gals. It's Jeff Chinakovo, Scott Vaughn, Brent Batterman, Randy Thompson, Chris Tahaney, Steve Carnes, Justin Trumbo, Keith Cassinguy, Mel Opp, and Mark Klingenberg. All of those gentlemen contributed to this book. We figured out that I have traveled over 2 million miles just in car alone in my 43 years. And I've had the benefit of working with a lot of really talented salespeople and store owners. And so this is my gift back to the industry. And so, Chris, you know that if you put something up on the screen, I have to read it because it's squirrel. So RJ says both of these books are absolute must reads if you want to be successful in this industry. Thank you, RJ. I appreciate you for being here. You have some exciting things going on. And I'd like to thank my sponsors at Mattress Industry Network Group, Steve and Greg. If you need to learn how to build, market, sell, and succeed in the mattress industry, come on in. This group is over 2,500 strong. It's 100% free. And hit that QR code and come on in and talk to us. So everybody's in here. So there's owners of manufacturing plants. There are store owners. There are sales pros. There are sales reps. There are VPs of sales. Anybody and everybody is in here. If you are in the mattress industry, you're welcome to join the group. It's 100% free. Come on in and join the group. And we are really getting close now. In another, month? September, end of September, September 28th, 29th, and 30th in Nashville, Tennessee. Scott Vaughn and Scott Bidwell are putting on another Wingo coaching masterclass, teaching you everything that it took Scott over 20 years to learn in the mattress industry. And what a great group of people always show up. The best of the best always go to these events. It's a paid event. And you will find your tribe there. There are people that make friends for life and form little mini masterminds that they stay in touch with their fellow class participants and really get a benefit, not just in those 2 or 3 days, but for the rest of their career. So I would tell you, if you are in the mattress industry, even if you're doing well, you can probably do better. Join the class. Here's the beautiful part about this one in Nashville. The hotel is in the airport. So you fly in and there is no Uber, no taxi, no Lyft. Just hit the escalator with your luggage and join us. It's a great, great event. Can't recommend it highly enough. And if you haven't signed up yet, here's your chance to save some money. Save big money. And I mean big money. Use Pete 2025. That's Pete in all capitals. The numbers 2025 for a discount. It's a mystery discount, I guess, today. I thought I knew what it was, but it might have changed, and there might have been a conversation between Scott Vaughn and Chris Stone, my producer, that I'm unaware of. So join us at Wingo Coaching Masterclass on September 28th, 29th, and 30th in Nashville, Tennessee. That's a great town. I absolutely love Nashville. So without a further ado, Scott, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Pete.
So other than, talking to you just briefly for a few seconds about the weather, I don't know really that much about you other than one of my best friends in the industry, Scott Montague, is running your sales for you. So I'm super excited about that for both you and for him. When I became a rep, Scott, I called somebody every night, and his name was Scott Montague, literally every night. I think I might have caused a rift in his relationship with him and his wife, because he probably talked to me more than he talked to his wife. I was a rookie, and I had a lot of questions, and Scott was more seasoned than me. And anybody that knows Scott Montague just knows that he's a giver, number one. He's super knowledgeable, and he's great at giving you a different perspective. And so that's why I called him every night. So tell me a little bit about, I know that the company's 105 years old. So tell me a little bit about that, Scott.
Yeah, so we started manufacturing in 1920. My great grandfather started the business, John Richard Grand, and here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And it's a family-run business. My grandfather took over in 1949, and then he passed away in 1977. And my father took over, and I took up the reins, and I graduated LSU in 1993, and I pretty much started here right around there in business. The wholesale manufacturing, we basically do a lot of manufacturing wholesale and universities and contracts, but we do wholesale manufacturing mostly in the state of Louisiana. And I think last year I decided I wanted to try and expand the company a little bit, and I reached out to Mr. Montague, and you're right about his talent. He and I talk every morning. I don't have to worry about it. My wife sleeps in, so I'm not a late night call with her. So she gets to have me in the evenings. But Scott usually he's on the East Coast, and he keeps me up early in the morning for sure. And he's done a really great job at bringing in opportunities, and we're really appreciative of that.
So when you guys, what was your great grandfather's vision for the company?
What I think his vision is, and I think it still exists today here in the company, is we like to build relationships. The industry's kind of drifted away. I recall as a young man, salespeople coming in here, and they carried just all kind of fabrics and foam and tickings, and there were just what I considered old guys coming in the industry, but they were here, and they built relationships with companies, and that relationship we used likewise with our customer base. So we wanted to be the go-to. We didn't necessarily want to be the least expensive company to come, but we wanted to be the one that they called for a service, a connection, and a relationship. And we continue to do that now. A lot of our client base have been with us for a long time. And we strive to keep that culture intercompany here. We've got employees that have been with us for 35, 25, 17 years. They're just really company wide. We try and exhibit a relationship, building a relationship, being thankful and grateful of the people that are dealing with us on a day-to-day basis. There's the timeline, that's coming up, and I think we branched out with franchises in the past, and found that we didn't necessarily it wasn't a good match for us, and that was before my tenure with the company. But I'm enjoying every day. With this grand bedding expansion, what we're in right now, I have a little more pep in my walk every morning, and I've got beautiful daughter working with me, a son working with me, my wife's on team here, my brother. So we have a great family business that's really trying to do our best to service a community that we consider nationwide now.
So, do you really ship nationwide?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Wow. How do you accomplish that, Scott?
Well, in this day and age, I mean, we have the capabilities of compressing beds and shipping out inner springs and memory foam mattresses in boxes. We also utilize trucking services that there are instances that clients prefer to have beds that are not compressed in a box. They like the durability of a flat pack bed, and we ship those. I think we've got some orders going into California this week. We've shipped into Alaska. That's a little challenging from time to time, and also Hawaii. When I've got to get them on the vessels and get them on a steam carrier or ship, it's a little bit more complicated. But definitely the four corners. Seattle, Maine, and California, and obviously Florida. We hit all those areas, and we're based in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So it's it's centrally located and right here on the I-10 corridor that runs coast to coast.
So when you started the company, was the name Grand or was it different?
Yeah, so they started the business in 1920. Great grandfather did, here in Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge is the capital of Louisiana, and it was began as Capital Bedding Company. And in 1920, it was Capital Bedding Company, and we remained Capital Bedding Company until this past May. And with the expansion, when I picked up Mr. Montague, our vice president of sales, and our sales team, who is a fabulous sales team that we have, we decided to rebrand. And with the rebrand, we went with Grand Bedding, and really that was to honor my our family legacy and the family. And so we've run into instances in the past where there was other names of, there's 50 state capitals, right? So there could be the opportunity for 50 capital beddings, and I didn't want to run into that for sure.
That's awesome. That is, the words that you're using to honor our family's legacy. We don't talk about this stuff hardly anymore because everybody's owned by some private equity firm. So I am so grateful and so thankful that you're on the show and you're talking about relationships and gratefulness and thankfulness and a family business, a true family business. Gordon. Hey, Gordon, how are you? It's one of my favorite people in the mattress industry. Anybody that gets a chance to talk to Gordon, heck, do it, because you'll be smarter by the end of the conversation. We received our Grand mattress a couple of weeks back. Amazing comfort, support, and value. Kudos, Scott G and Scott M. Wow, that's saying something, because you are kind of like the Princess and the Pea, Gordon. You slept on some really nice mattresses in your career. So that's saying something. So, Scott, I have visions of you crawling around a mattress factory in your diaper. When did you remember first being in your grandpa's mattress factory?
Oh, that was a story there. So there's five of us. I've got four siblings and myself, and they wouldn't let me come to the office, come to the factory until I was 9 years old. And so, and there's five of us in 4 years. We get a set of twins in there, and I was the baby. So I'm standing in the driveway screaming with my mother holding me back and my dad waving off as they came to work. So 9 years old, I got to come to work, and we spent our summers, back in those days, we were tufting mattresses. We were running scroll quilters, we got paid to run quilters that did just squirrel quilters back in those days. I guess we were okay since we were underneath our daddy's watchful eye at the plant, or my grandfather's. But we would tuft and literally back then, as we expanded the business, we kind of moved into these industrial quilting machines, multi-needle quilters, and I saw change coming, and my father invested in the new equipment, and we stored those old big wheel tufting machines up in the attic, and the cotton gin that they used to run, we stored in the attic, and the scroll quilter. And I'm telling you, the industry now is kind of going full circle. I'm seeing that come back around. I wish I wouldn't have sold all that scrap when I moved into. I literally got rid of those equipment, saying, "Oh, we're not going to ever use that stuff again." And sure enough, yeah. So we make some really fabulous mattresses, and some of them are tufted with specialty products in it, and it's really neat to see that stuff come full circle. The designs of beds nowadays, it's really changing a lot.
Well, I guess that begs the next question. What does it look like when there's a decision to be made at your place? Is it like this big old powwow between like 5 to 8 family members, or do you pretty much get to make the decisions?
I engage. I found it really, really. I think years ago I read an article, and you want to surround yourself with people who are usually smarter than you in areas that you might not be able to help with, and so I lean on other people to kind of collectively come to a decision. Yes, the final decision I can make. I can decide where we're going to go with it. I can point the ship in that direction. But if you don't get your team involved with that, and have them, contribute to the ideas, then I find there becomes a little bit of pushback, and it's for us here at Grand Bedding. It's been really, 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 really great to have kind of a think tank of employees, a sales team. We've actually, be honest with you, we find some of our best help is with our customer base. What would you like? What can we do? Where are the actions? We'll bring them into the factory and sit them down. This year, I've had 2 or 3 clients come in, and we put them up in Baton Rouge and sit in the factory and pull covers and design beds for them, also to use for our wholesale price line, or just our normal line. And of course, we need to get their approval with that.
Sure.
But it's the collective decision, I should say.
I love that. I learned years ago that every time I did not listen to Jenny, my wife, and Nick, my business partner, every time I went against what they said, and I never just arbitrarily did it. I would try to get them on board. But after a while, I would get frustrated, and I'd just go off and make a decision. And, oh, by the way, this is what I did. And I started to keep an eye on it, Scott. And this is what I found out. Their wins and their win column were more than my wins in my win column. And so I will not make an important business decision without having Jenny and Nick both on board with that decision. And if it takes 6 months or it takes a year for me to get them there, or we abandon it, and it was a bad idea that I had, and we don't do it. But I will not go forward with anything unless Nick and Jenny both are on board with it. I learned the hard way, my friend.
I think my father probably helped me with he would bounce ideas off of me as a young man out of college and say, I'm thinking of this, or I'm thinking of that. And I would maybe make the decisions, or give him advice that he would kind of say, well, and it was neat to see how he could kind of mold my thinking to align with where he was going with it. Yeah, it was good. It was good experience with working with my father, and with the expansion of the business and where we were going to go with that. See, when I came in 93, we had general ledger books that were all handwritten books, right? So it's you flipping open this book that's like a huge desktop. And I graduated in business, and we brought in the computers, and there was I remember getting the first word processor, and it was a MS DOS version or something, and so now these things are so fast nowadays. And my daughter, who works for the company, she's working with the website developer and doing a lot of the marketing materials, and she utilizes a lot of AI now, which is it's coming like fast like a storm.
It's here, and it's going faster and faster and faster. And I'd encourage everybody that's listening to this, if you're having any reservations or doubts about whether or not you need to get with it, you need to get with it. I'm just telling you, it's going to do nothing but accelerate. And if you think you're behind now and you don't start taking just 10 minutes to a half an hour every day to learn something new about it and to start incorporating it into your business, what we're finding is that the first level of understanding of AI is that I can do tasks faster. The next level is getting it to help you think, feeding enough information into it that it can help you make decisions, and it can help you with processes. So it's developing very, very quickly, and we got to get on that. So I'm going to ask you a really specific question. I want you to go back in time, Scott, and I want you to remember a conversation that you had with your father about a piece of equipment and the efficacy of bringing it in or not bringing it in. And how did that go? And what was the piece of machinery that I could guess as to which one would be the most dramatic, but I'm going to let you tell your own story.
Well, I'll say this, that when I came in, we didn't have, we had a scroll quilter at the time, and it was an expansion from the scroll quilter. Obviously the computer system was probably the best. And that was with my father and me being in college, and we were working with IBM computers back in the day. That was he was okay with me bringing that in. But the quilting machine, we were having an outside company. We were buying ticking from, I think, Blumenthal Ticking Company down in New Orleans. They're no longer with us, but we were having that ticking shipped to a quilter who was quilting the material and then sending us quilted rolls. And I thought to myself, every Friday we're unloading trucks that have these 35-yard quilted rolls on them, and it would trailer loads of this material that we had to store, which is very difficult to store quilted rolls like that. And I found it odd that we would do that, and I thought, why wouldn't we just buy one of these big monstrous machines. And, at the time he's like, well, where would we put it? And it's like, well, we're getting rid of old cotton gin in the back, or we, move the Tufton machine out the way and put it in the attic. And so it was a give and take. And he said, well, there's a plant in Houston, as a matter of fact. It was Parker Bedding back in 1991, I think. And they had just shut down their operations. And I went over there and I bid on a quilting machine, and rented a U-Haul truck myself, 20 years old, and drove that quilting machine, bolted down to the ground in that truck all the way back to Baton Rouge. And that was our first quilter. And it's an old ratchet drive Imco quilter. Imco is no longer available. They're out of business. But that little border quilter is right now it's outside. We've moved it out again, but it ran the longest. It's not computer generated, nothing computerized about it, but we became the mattress company with the multi-needle quilter there. And it saved us. It saved us from having to outsource that product line, and it made us more competitive. And that was kind of the stepping stone. But it was some give and take with my father. He didn't see the need for it because he had a process already covering that. But I thought it was a nice example of me bringing an idea and him kind of accepting it and saying, okay, I'm going to, and that fast forward 5 or 10 years, and the same thing happened with our trucking situation. We were driving like Ford C600s from 1979, and we needed bigger trucks. We needed some trailers. And so, that became a little harder conversation, because at a certain point, when you're dealing with a father who was getting up in age and a son, these family businesses, they start to kind of get into a little bit of a head batch, right? So we were kind of disputed over whether it was something we needed and whether we could get four more years out of the one we were running. I at that point was where we kind of had to little battling out right there, and said, Dad, listen, I think this is what we need to do. And I'm the one that has to sometimes sit on the side of the road if the truck's not running. So, and he's like, okay, well, I don't mind going and pick up. Because at the time, if I was running late, he'd run to the house and take the kids, watch over the kids until I got home. And so it was challenging, but we worked it out.
So I'm dying to ask you this question. And this is really going to show my age. Did you buy that Emco quilter with those little bobbins that held the thread, or was it already converted to the bigger spools?
No, sir. We had a little silver cocoon.
Little bobbins.
Yeah. And you know what I'll say is I have been so fortunate to associate myself with mentors in the industry. I've met a network of people that owners of plants and operators of plants that have really kind of been very grateful, take me under their wings at a very young age. They could see I was enthusiastic and I wanted to learn about it. Here in Baton Rouge, it was a company called Frankel Bedding, and Mr. Frankel and his team of people, even though we were down the road on the same street, Choctaw Drive in Baton Rouge, that they were were very kind to us, and we bought some of their old equipment, and they would offer to train me or help me and make decisions, and that kind of fed into the relationships I had with other ticking suppliers and foam suppliers, and they would come in, and I've just been very grateful to have not just the vendor side, but the competitor side, guys that do what I do, that own factories like I have. And really, aside from us running at each other in the territories that we have, our sales team, it's really wonderful to have a competitor that you can pick up the phone call and say, hey, what do you do when this happens at your plant? Or what do you do? And then to take that call, or even reach out to you and say, hey, FYI, I don't know if you've heard this, that's happening in the industry. And so we bounce things off. And I've been real fortunate as I've taken over the business to run into some really, really standout characters, manufacturer owners and business production managers that have, offered advice to giving and taking some advice.
Yeah. Those Emco quilters, once you converted them with the larger thread, they would run forever. I've actually had owners like point to it and go, "It won't die. I can't kill it. It won't die." I just
Yeah, especially their old ratchet ones. They're driven by a ratchet and belt and pulley system, and no computer involved with it at all. And I think they're going to outlast us both.
yeah. And it's funny how reliable those Emcos were. And the first thing you got to do when you bring a Gribbets in is you better make sure that you've got a mechanic, because you're gonna need it at some point. Whether it's full-time or part-time, you're definitely gonna need it. And I'm not saying anything bad about Gribbets. It's just the way it is. And
we typically with Gribbets, and our Porter machines, or I should say our Leggett properties, and not even the Atlanta attachment. The vendors that we have equipment for, we'll reach out to them, usually annually, every 18 months, have them come in, service the equipment, give us their opinion on what's coming down the road. We'll get some news bulletins from them that says this equipment is reaching its end of life, or this computer system on this equipment is going to be, these servos are going out. And it is a shame that because we've got, this massive piece of equipment that if it loses its brain, unlike the Emco quilter, that's just going to keep on walking like a tortoise, these machines just become like a boat anchor. And so if you're not going to update them, then you're going to be having a little difficult time utilizing them for a long period of time.
So here's an interesting question, Scott. Not to compliment myself on a question I'm about to ask you, but I guess that's what I'm doing. When you bring a new dealer in who's not familiar with your company, and after you walk them through your showroom and your factory, typically what do they say to you?
I'm slowing down to think about that, because it's a lot of times it's a very positive environment, right? A lot of the retailers that we sell, I would say we're not, without getting a little bit into the whole business plan that we have, we're not in like huge sales areas. We're in small retailers that have numerous locations, and so I'm usually dealing with the owners, right, directly, and we typically have a really good relationship with them. They're impressed with the product line. They really like the family business style of it. We tend to steer away from the Amazon sales and the big box stores. We want to deal kind of, we try and keep the small town USA kind of thing going. There was an interesting article this past month in the Bedtimes, and it talked about made in America, and that a lot. I don't know really the number of people that did on the survey, and hats off to ISPA and the Better Sleep Council for doing their surveys, but they talked about that, what people are looking for in product. And it's a shame to say that nowadays that this little report came up that only 31% think made in America is made in the USA is beneficial. And as a manufacturer here in Louisiana since 1920, we want that number to be higher, right? We want to bring it all back to the States here. We hate to see that influx from outside the United States kind of coming in and taking, dollars and work for people and families, values away from what we do here at the manufacturing facility. But usually when I have the retailers come in, they are family businesses or extended family businesses that do a lot what we do here, and they're very grateful to see that.
Wow, magic. Yeah, interesting. So, Scott, one of the things that I'm seeing more and more in my store visits, I'm hearing it out of the mouths of consumers directly. Don't show me anything cheap. I already bought from Amazon and I only had it 6 months, or I only had it a year. I don't want anything cheap. I want something good. That should be music to everybody's ears in the entire industry, and especially family owned companies. So hopefully we see more of that. And I would encourage our retailers to start to tap into that dissatisfaction with cheaper products that are not performing the way people anticipated they would perform.
Yeah, I read an article about a pretty large recall they had recently, and for some imported mattresses, and you know it is costly to do what we do on our end for meeting the federal Consumer Product Safety Council regulations, and the processes that we go, the checks and balances, the record keeping, all of that comes into play. I mean, we have to have personnel on staff to do that, and when you know that it's not being done, and it's coming in, and it's hitting the floors and going out the doors, and it's a little disappointing from what we do right here at my factory. Nose to the grindstone every day, getting up early, manufacturing, going through the processes, dotting our I's, crossing our T's, and trying to make a very good quality bed. It may not be the very cheapest bed that's out on the marketplace, but we want to provide durability, service, that kind of thing.
Yep. So what are the biggest differences between what you're seeing out there in the marketplace and what you at Grand Bedding are offering dealers?
Here at Grand Bedding, we are offering our bedding. We actually have very, very good product potential for profit potential for our retailers. We don't do a whole lot of co-op, but we do manufacture product that's going to give them high margins on their product line. We are in the area of that same article. I think I read what the consumers are really looking for. I think it was they want comfort, coolness, and we're offering that in our product line. Also, we're adding other things, health benefits to it. We're seeing we've got a what we call a copper line story, which has basically got some healing effects to it. We've got some kind of cooling covers that keep you cool at night. We're listening to the consumer, and we want to know really. What I hear it from is not the consumer, but I hear it from our retailers. They're the ones that are actually hearing and we're letting that drive our sales team to develop the product. So I will say that when I came into the business with my father and my grandfather, it was a little bit of the Henry Ford story. This is how we're making our bed. Take it out and sell it. And what we found down what I've come to learn is that it really doesn't work that way. And Scott Montague, who's great at what he does, he brought that to me. The retailers are listening to the consumers are coming back and saying, what do you have? And we experience, like you said, this foam mattress in a box, and we don't want that anymore. We want an inner spring, or right now we've kind of vertically integrated a little bit this past 2 years ago after the ISPA convention. We invested in some pocket coil spring coiling machines. So we actually spin our own wires and make our own pocket coils. We do zone coils, perimeter edge coils, and we find that You know, some people complain about body impressions, or they dip in the middle, or the beds just fail at some point. And so we beef them up in these areas that we're hearing from the retailers. What we don't want to do is provide mattresses to any one of our customers or any retailer, and for them to return more mattresses than we're delivered on a truck. So we don't want anything to come back to us. We want to go one way, and that's kind of our kind of, and it really works real well for what we're doing.
Yeah, I've heard dealers say you're building the product, and like, yeah, so you don't get returns. That's
Right.
That's why we're overbuilding it.
Right. Well, another story is, for a long time, I want to say that maybe Simmons came out with the first non-flip mattress in 2000 or something like that, and
Yep.
we were steadfast that we were going to make a double-sided innerspring. And I've been told by a retailer, he walked in here and he kind of had a puzzled look on his face, and I said, "These are all of our line that have double-sided mattresses, and these are all of our new lines that are single-sided mattresses." And he kind of looked back at the other one and he said, why are you still making double-sided mattresses? And I said, he says, you're marketing after an aging population. There's no need for that. But we do still get a tremendous amount of requests for, I've got retailers that said, that they've got customers that'll walk in the store and say, "Where's the bed we can turn over?" And that's the area that they walk to. Now, it's not as common as we've seen in the past, and so we do have an offering in our lineup to where the retailer can actually make a request to have the bed still double-sided. But the majority of it, you're right, is kind of going. We're taking a little bit of the upholstery levels off the bottom side and making single-sided mattresses. I call that an evolvement. We've kind of evolved the company to going in that direction a little bit.
Well, the thing that has shocked me is I thought 10 years ago that the whole industry had gone one-sided. And I started to hear from this guy named Jeff Janakovo, who owns a store called Lancaster Gardner's Mattress and More in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And he was marketing aggressively two-sided mattresses. And I remember one time after showing him some beds, and it was maybe 6-8 years ago, and Jeff said, "Pete, those are good beds. They're not coming on my floor. The only thing that's coming on my floor is either a split head or a double-sided mattresses. If they're not split head or they're not double-sided, they're not coming on my floor, because that's where the future is." And I have to say, I sell more two-sided mattresses than I sell one-sided mattresses, because I have a bunch of retailers that have figured it out that it's something different. It's a way to differentiate yourself from a mattress firm, from one of these big powerhouse department stores that have gobs and gobs of money to spend on advertising, but they don't have two-sided mattresses. And I think two-sided mattresses is a huge missed opportunity by most manufacturers and many, many retailers. Because if I ask you this question, if you own a retail mattress store, and I ask you this question, what makes you different than Mattress Firm? What makes you different from the local department store or the national department store, for that matter? What makes you different? Why should somebody buy from you? If you can't tell me a handful of things really quickly, you probably have a problem.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I was for some reason or another at the Lowe's department store recently, and I was walking down one of the aisles over there, and I came across a bed in a box, and I was like, "This is crazy." Lowe's is now selling them, and it's a single-sided foam mattress, and so you can find them at the Sam's Club and the Lowe's and a lot of places. And so you really have to distinguish yourself a little bit. And here at our factory, that we do that quite often. We again, a few minutes ago we mentioned that I enjoy the feedback that I get, the knowledge that I'm given from a retailer who is out there every day trying to compete with the big box stores. And I often would enjoy them to come into the factory, spend a day developing a mattress for them. So, we'll customize some product for individual retailers from time to time, and they'll private label it and give it their own name, and we'll manufacture them for them. We'll be their little fulfillment center. It's challenging to do, but we do it and we enjoy it. And it's again, it goes back to where I think what the vision of my great grandfather is to kind of have a relationship with the end user, the consumer, and via the retailer. But right now, we definitely want to continue building a relationship with our client base, and we want to be their kind of go-to problem solver, if you will, on what issues they're faced with to compete in the marketplace.
Well, private label is a great way to add 2 to 5 points to your bottom line. And it's there for the taking. Finding a manufacturer that's willing to do it is more difficult. So anybody in Scott's marketing area, give him a call, but we'll do that at the end of the show. But I just couldn't help but saying that. So you do double-sided mattresses, you do private label. What are some of the other things that you do that a little bit different than run-of-the-mill mattress factories?
Well, we are, like I said, manufacturing a hospitality line that we sell to. We do some custom size bedding. We're in a little bit of a different, as far as a wholesale manufacturer. We're in about 4 or 5 different industries. We do a line of bedding that's specifically for the trucking industry. We do one for the healthcare, hospitality, or industry. We do one for the universities and dormitories. We do offshore marine bedding that meets certain certifications. So we dabble in multiple different industries. And what I have found is that kind of helps with the business cycle, where we have some contractions, or the economy starts to slow down. I think I read in the Bedtimes magazine that they're anticipating another little dip in bedding sales this year on the residential side, with an expectation that that'll rebound next year or the year after too. But when we see that decrease, but what we do see right now is an uptick in contract bedding, which is going to be, a lot of these government entities that are buying beds to house either migrants or universities and things like that. We just were awarded a big contract with one of the universities, and so when we see a dip in residential sales, we see increases in contract bedding or something like that. So we kind of try and fight the business cycle a little bit to where we can kind of stay a little bit of an angle like this, rather than doing what the business cycle does from time to time.
That's awesome. Now, is the factory in the same exact physical location since the 1920s?
No, in 2014, we expanded to a larger facility, and with that expansion, and of course, my daughter did we rolled out a new website. I mean, when you move, it's you're changing all of your processes. We vertically integrated with our foam line. We brought in the horizontal saws and the vertical saws, and now we bring in these huge compressed buns and then cut our own foam, vertically integrated there. So it gives us control over our inventories, better control over our inventories, and as well created another revenue stream for us. So when we're manufacturing mattresses with polyurethane foam and memory foam and pocket coils, we typically get a little drop in the foam operations. And for the longest time, I didn't know. We wanted to know what the foamers, they used to pick that up from us. But when we became the sole manufacturer in the state of Louisiana, or really the kind of, when Frankel shut down their operation down the road, they kind of were the anchor for the state, with very large sales volume, and we became the last guy standing. So it's challenging to figure out how to wrap that recycled raw material in. So we invested in some shredders, and we shred all of our polyurethanes up into a blend of a memory foam and a polyurethane, and we make a pillow that we sell, a couple of different versions of pillows that we sell. With that expansion, we also added more trucks to our facility so we can make better deliveries and get further out on our own transportation models. That was 2014. I anticipate, of course, my wife would hate to hear this, and then Montague would love it, but I anticipate another couple of years probably here before we kind of outgrow the spot. And I've also this year already kind of been testing the waters on where I might want to jump out to. We like to stay in our geographical service area that we're in right now. We're running trucks into Texas and Mississippi and Alabama, and we want to be kind of centrally located like we are in the United States, but I'm going to need a bigger footprint, I believe.
Well, it sounds like you've got the updated machinery to do that. So it's.
Yeah, there's a little contentiousness there between me and my brother Warren. He's my older brother, and he works with us. And he's always. I'm a kind of a bargain finder, a little bit of, I would say, if I hear of a piece of equipment or a factory that might be having some hard times and shuttering down, if I know that they've just recently invested in something that's state of the art, and I'm thinking, well, that's an opportunity there. I'll grab it. And we have a kind of a remote satellite warehouse that we store a lot of this, older equipment or new equipment that I can't place right now. And, I kind of was kicking myself for letting her go some of those tough thin machines and scroll quilters ago. Back when we did, we had some United vertical stitch machines, and now you see those vertical stitch machines on borders nowadays. And so I try and save that equipment, and I'll bring it in if there's an opportunity and the price is right. And then we're kind of staging up for that next move, where it's not so the capital expenditure is mainly just going to be for the the lease and the movement. We don't have to go out and buy a lot of extra equipment, because I've kind of piecemealed it in as I see the opportunity.
Scott, I can't believe we're getting to the end of the hour. Is there a question that I did not ask you that I should have asked you?
Well, yeah, I think I would have probably was expecting a question of like, okay, fourth generation, where's the fifth? What's the hand mill? Where who's got the golden handcuffs? How are you gonna? Yeah, so I am the great grandson of the original owner, and I spent my weekend with a young man by the name of Jackson, and he's my grandson. My daughter is living is again working for the business. And you flashed his picture up there recently. So the question is who's the handoff to? And that young man loves to come up here and run around the shop with his pawpaw and hang out. And I guess the question would be is who's the handoff going to be to?
Wow. So probably Jackson, huh?
Yeah, I think we like to think so. And it's hard to say. I have some real concerns about what's happening with this AI. This little guy right here, he might just be able to say, "Go make a mattress," and it pop up. There he is, right there. Yep.
Wow.
And so you know, we're a family business, and we're there. You know, there are times when I sit down at night and think, you know, this legacy's got to go on. You know, and we need to that's my son right there, my daughter, my brother Warren. So we need to you know, invest in rest and stay here at the business and keep this family business going. You know, another 100 years. I typically tell people when I'm buying something, how long does it last? And the reason I ask that is because I intend to be here for another 100 years.
Good for you. Good for you. Scott, how does, you know, somebody has been watching this, or they're going to watch it on rerun, and actually more people will catch it on rerun than anywhere else. And this will live on LinkedIn. It lives on YouTube forever. How do people get in touch with you or get in touch with Scott? If I am a retail store owner and I'm like, hey, listen, I like what this dude Scott Grand's laying down. I want to call him. I want to talk to this guy. How do they get a hold of you?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. There is a contact us page on the website at www.grandbedding.com. They can definitely do that. They could reach out to us at one of our 800 numbers. And I think they can Google Grand Bedding. I did it over the weekend, and it pops up with the new website as Capital Bedding, and there's an 800 number site on that. We would love that opportunity. I would like to point out one area. You asked if we sell nationwide, and we do. I have one of our little applications, our point of sale material shows us all the states that we've sold, and there is one state. It's Montana. So any of your listeners in Montana need to pay attention. We're willing to offer some special discounts to get up in that area, because when I ran a report just recently, I said, I can't believe I sold every state in the United States except Montana. So I'm looking for pick up a dealer in that area if we could figure out how to get the product to them.
Awesome. Scott, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate everything you're doing. And, you know, there's not a lot of really great family businesses left, retail, wholesale, and, you know, a family business that has, you know, employees that have worked there 17 years, 25 years, and 35 years. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a treasure. So support these guys and give them a call and see what they have to offer. And, you know, so this is called Squirrel. Chris is trying to get me to read the phone number. So the phone number to call is 225-357-2253. Again, the phone number is 225-357-2253, because there will be some people. Yes, I will read the .com as well, or go on your internet and put Grand Bedding, and that's BEDDING. Just because I dropped my G doesn't mean you need to. .com, grandbedding.com, or Scott is on LinkedIn. So Scott Grand on LinkedIn. So sync up with these guys and see what they've got to offer you. Scott, any last words?
Pete, I want to thank you very much for having me on the show today. It's been incredible, and I'm really glad to have met you and get the word out.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to make the time in a already too busy schedule, and super busy. It's a little quiet today. I got a sneaking suspicion everybody's up to their eyeballs in Labor Day sales right now, which is a great thing. And I hope that we're all super busy this week and next weekend too.
Yeah, we do too. Thank you very much, Pete.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.